We're doing great because here we go. Game number 1 is on. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to game number 1 in this best of 5 between MarineLorD and TheViper. On Arabia, we will have MarineLorD on the right side with the French in blue, and to the left is Viper playing as the Rus in red.
Well, this is a pretty standard opening coming out from Viper. We are seeing that hunting cabin getting thrown down, the house going down right next to it. And of course, the lumber camp going to be coming out. It looks like we've got a double scout opening coming out for Viper as well. So this is a pretty standard Rus opening. So he's made a scout, which has gone to the north of the town center, down towards the south, got that second one out, taking out his hunt. I'm curious to see whether MarineLorD has done the same thing on his side of the map. Are we able to check in with him?
Yep.
So he's got that one scout out down to the south of his base. Any second scout out yet, Lida?
There was a second scout coming out. It's just a little difficult to find all the way across the map. But I saw MarineLorD coming out with a scout. The easiest way to check is with the villager population. It looks like MarineLorD canceled that because he's got one more villager. Interesting decision to do that, because against Rus you would expect that you add the second scout yourself, because...
I think it's on the north hunt. Check just... Yeah, there it is.
Oh,
yeah, there it is.
There it
sneaky
is.
little,
Okay.
sneaky little scout. So, obviously, this map's Arabia. It's an open map, and players have chosen civilizations. Around that, we've got the Rus, we've got the French. When it comes to these two civs, if it was before the most recent balance patch, we would be expecting double professional scouts. Do you think that's going to be the case in this game?
I would think so, because if you think about it, if you let the Rus take all the hunt for themselves, even with the slower scouts bringing back the carcasses, that's going to be a ton of food to work with. And given the fact that your mill is cheaper, your technology is cheaper, nothing prevents you from going professional scouts with the French. In fact, the reason why I think it's a great idea is because you can also add one or two knights and horsemen, and since your opponent's scouts are much slower carrying carcasses, you can even kill them. The Rus won't have any army on the battlefield to protect their scouts, whereas the French can field some horsemen or knights to protect them. So technically, MarineLorD has the chance to cut off Viper from all accessible hunts with a couple of horsemen or knights.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be quite a strong opening for him. I'd be curious to see which direction he goes, but I think that's definitely the right play, is looking to get that early aggression in against the opponent, try and deny those hunts as best he can. And yeah, I think as the civilization, French has definitely got an advantage when it comes to that. Obviously, the School of Cavalry going to be a very easy way for him to get up and make sure that he's got the infrastructure that he needs to get those units out. One of the things that we have been seeing players do is when they do have that early map control, instead of going for professional scouts, just moving out onto the map and dropping down a mill, dropping down an outpost, and just sitting there with the deer carcasses out and about on that map, preventing their opponent from gathering it up just simply through having map control. So we could potentially see that out as well for MarineLorD, but yeah, I suspect we're probably going to be having both players go for that professional scout opening.
So far, the two players have been splitting the huntables fairly evenly, but now Viper finds two more wolves on the north, and that is quite crucial because that's gonna push him to that 250 bounty once he kills an extra sheep here. Speaking of which, he's got quite a lot of sheep to work with and also an extra wolf, so he was at like 200 bounty for a long time, but now he's all the way up to 300, so definitely shifted gears here, going up to Feudal Age with the Golden Gate, building it with 7 vills, and on the other side, you have 4 vills on that landmark for MarineLorD, but they started a lot faster, so the two players should reach Feudal Age at approximately the same time.
Are we able to take a look at their current resources? I know you've got it on income per minute at the moment. I'm just curious to see, yeah, current resources. So it doesn't look like either player's really stacked up that much gold just yet. Viper in particular would be the one that I would watch, but he's got no villagers on gold at this stage. He's just got 100 in the bank. And to me, that indicates he's probably going to open up with a single knight, but then potentially move into something like archers or spears and look to be aggressive with that. Doesn't have a lot of villagers out at the moment. Yeah, a little bit strange. Viper now reaching that next age, or rather MarineLorD reaching that next stage. It's a little bit weird to see. Viper's actually playing the Rus. Gosh, I tell you what, I'm going a little bit crazy. I apologize. MarineLorD is the one on the French. 7 idle villages at the moment. I'm sitting here thinking, yeah, Viper's playing the French. Viper's about to get up. Viper will get out the one knight from his School of Cavalry. But then I realized, hold on a minute, Viper is the one playing the Rus. I'm so used to watching Viper play the French that it just sort of, gosh. All right, Lidakor, I'll let you take over. I've got to catch myself over here.
Viper had the scout numbers advantage to start with, and he was trying to leverage that, trying to push away the gold miners, and he did so. And that, of course, is going to slow down MarineLorD's production of knights here, because he currently has insufficient amount of gold to pop out a second knight. But with the first knight coming out now, the villagers should be able to go back. As things stand, it looks like it's a standard good old-fashioned knights and archers play from MarineLorD, so we're not going to see professional scouts from him. Whereas for Viper, a barracks opening is what we're seeing, so we're going to have some spearmen from him. This looks very much like Viper is going to spend a lot more time in Feudal Age than usual with the Rus, and we're not going to see a fast castle from him here.
Yeah, this is quite strange, and still yet to have professional scouts even considered at this point in time. Now, he's got the Golden Gate that's up. Are we able to see whether he's used any of his tickets just yet, or whether he's saving those bad boys up? Yeah, he's saving them up, so he could be looking to potentially go for a fast second town center in this matchup then. That's what that indicates to me. We'll have to see how he plays it, though, because obviously he's taking his time. He's got the 4 scouts out, yeah, plenty of bounty in the bag. But from MarineLorD's perspective, he's going into archers. Now, Viper would have scouted that out. He's got plenty of scouts out for him. He's going to know that with those coming on the way, that by dropping down this early barracks, getting these spears out, that you're not going to be doing particularly well with this. Especially now that MarineLorD has scouted that as well. So it only further reinforces that. Now we actually see the double archery range coming out from Viper. So a little bit of a curious opening. Definitely not what we've seen in the most recent patches. That is definitely the case. Not going towards that fast castle. Not looking at gold. We see him actually just doing a trade out right there with a ticket. Going to be able to defend out a couple of these raids before they really hit. But we've got units streaming across the map, Lidakor. What have we got from MarineLorD?
MarineLorD is coming in with a couple of archers. He also has the mill up, and now he's going professional scouts. He's realizing that Viper isn't really contesting the hunt, so he can technically pick all of those up for himself. First couple of archers moving in right now. Viper's got some ranges going though, and with double ranges, plus the spearman, he should be able to repel this attack for the time being. Notably, he has gotten wheelbarrow as well, so no pro scouts for him, but he's got wheelbarrow, and now he's going for blacksmith.
Yeah, very curious opening so far. I don't think I've ever seen a Rus opening like this, other than maybe like a Don Artie game, but that's pretty much it. Also going for the blacksmith is interesting, so he's really intent. That blacksmith to me indicates he is sticking around in Age 2. He is very happy to fight this one out in the second age. And going up against the French, it's always a dangerous thing because these guys, they make their villages much faster than you. So typically we see the Rus players like to get up to the third age, like to secure those relics out on the map a little bit earlier, and that sort of balances that out. But he's not obviously going to have that bonus in the second age.
For now, the numbers are looking good for Viper, and we could easily see some sort of spearman archer siege push here from Viper in the next couple of minutes. Sort of play it as if they were the English. And the Rus have a quite decent early economy as well, let's not forget that. So they definitely can afford this push, although as you said, as the game progresses, the faster training villagers of the French will slowly take over. So there is a bit of a window here for Viper, especially given the fact that MarineLorD is ferrying in carcasses already, or at least I hope so he does, because he has gotten professional scouts, but I don't see any hunts underneath his TC.
Yeah, you can just see to the north of his base, it does look like there are units up there heading towards that hunt. So he's going to be able to pull those in now. How many archery ranges does MarineLorD actually have at this point? I'm curious to see. It's just the one. I've got a feeling Viper's in a bit more of an advantageous position here as the spears do come in, looking to potentially pick up a couple hits. They are probably going to manage to get that knight, taking it down to quite a low health pool and managing to, oh my god, it gets away with 6 health. A couple of scouts coming in on the back line, looking to do a little bit of picking off. They managed to get their hits on, and that Royal Knight's going to run in, does manage to get taken down, and that is an appropriate thing for Viper to be doing. You really want to make sure those French Knights die. It is it's very important, because if they manage to get away, Chivalry, which is the unique technology for the French, is going to make sure that they heal back up. But to me, this opening push looks incredibly strong for Viper, just simply because he's got the larger mass of archers out, so he's able to sort of hold ground much more effectively than his opponent is, and then the spears behind it are going to prevent him. And as you said, it's exactly like what we would see out of an English player.
And the key thing here is that MarineLorD didn't have a lot of knights on the battlefield, so MarineLorD only playing with one archer range, he's going to get outnumbered with archers from Viper, so that means that Viper can protect his spearmen. Viper has just enough spearmen to repel the knights, and the heart and soul of his army are the archers. Looks like MarineLorD trying to run away with those horsemen carrying in the carcasses. This is the way to do it. Drop off the carcass and just run.
I love it. It's beautiful, isn't it? Oh, thank you. Oh, you know what? The developers, they've done such a great job. What an amazing change. I love that. That's so funny to keep that that scout alive. He drops the carcass and gets out alive by the skin of his teeth. 16 health on that bad boy. And you can see him hunting down for these other scouts, not having a lot of luck. But now the archer's going to get braced by those spears and made sure that they are going to survive. Plenty of archers here for both players, and look at the scouts chasing in the other scouts of his enemy. He is really having a great time and manages to get about 4 or 5 carcasses back to that town center. But really, you could see just how much potential there is now to outplay with this professional scouts change. So what a great change, Lidakor. I'm so happy with this.
It's a great change indeed. That's probably the most reasonable way to change this. And now, MarineLorD is in a bit of a problematic position because you see, Viper's got the scouts denying these carcasses. These guys from the south will deny the other hunt, and that's a fairly sizable force here for Viper to talk about. It is 40 army for him, 22 only for MarineLorD, and his gold mine, that is just so vital for the Knights production, is wide open. He has 2 stables, but it's very difficult to produce Knights when you don't have gold. Second range just now coming in, and there is also no blacksmith for MarineLorD, whereas for Viper, he has already gotten the attack upgrade on his archers. That's the only upgrade that he has so far.
He's also got another very important upgrade. You can see him right there building it, doing a little bit of a ram dance. He's got 1 spear doing the patrol around the ram. You know, it's important when you're building a ram, you got to dance around it. But this battering ram is going to be incredibly important. He's going to be able to take out significant infrastructure from his opponent. Probably going to be starting off, in the direction. Ideally, would be looking to go after that archery range. That's going to be the big target right there, sitting on the front line. And Viper now beginning to move up towards that position as well. A lot less health on this archery range than, say, on the School of Cavalry. You've got 1,500 versus 5,000, so more than 3 times the amount. And that's exactly where he targets his attention, this archery range. And now it looks like the Knights going to be moving in. They've got their lances out. Going to be looking to get their jousts in. You see the spears on the back line actually bracing, but bracing behind the archers. Got to be careful there, Viper. You want him in front, mate. You want him in front. And now continuing to micro. Archers focusing down the archers. Spears doing their best, trying to protect. He's got plenty of spears in here as well, Lidakor.
That's a lot of spears indeed. So far, MarineLorD is doing an excellent job just pushing back the archers, though, because so far, MarineLorD is losing way less units than Viper does. Viper finally finding an angle to jump on those Knights with the Spearmen, and now those Knights are getting absolutely slaughtered.
And keep in mind behind this, MarineLorD isn't on gold. So there's not going to be any more Knights that are coming out of this. So once these Knights are gone, that's it. But still somehow he manages to hold on. He hasn't actually pulled villagers to kill the Rams, but he has pulled villagers to heal up that archery range and doing a great job of it. They've managed to repair it all the way back up to full health. And now Viper in a difficult position because he's got 600 wood of Rams on this front line that he needs to protect. And he really doesn't have the forces to do it.
Indeed, and Viper's push here lives and dies with his numbers. This army isn't going to be sufficient to push MarineLorD. He needs one big group of archers and spearmen, but the spearmen just disappeared from the battlefield because now MarineLorD has enough archers to fight them off. Blacksmith also on the way for MarineLorD, so he's going to catch up with the upgrades. As you said, gold was a problem for MarineLorD, but we have to mention that in the new January patch, the Horsemen also received an extra range defense, so their base ranged armor is now 2, making them much more effective against archers than they used to be.
Very, very good point. They are an incredibly strong unit now, and we can see the numbers beginning to build up for MarineLorD for his cavalry. So he's got plenty of horsemen out here as well as knights, and he's not afraid to throw those in. He's also got a couple of scouts in the mix as well, hoping that Viper misclicks and accidentally hits a scout. It's a very valuable click for MarineLorD if he can get it, but he's got these archers on the back line doing a great job of just picking off Viper's archers one by one, and at the same time he's got on the front line these cavalry units just doing a great job of soaking up all the damage. You can see he's having so much trouble trying to fight these off. Obviously, Viper's got the +1 behind this, trying to get that extra little bit of damage coming out. The spears slowly trickling in one by one, but as they each individually trickle in one by one, they just get picked off by the archers. You can see them right away. MarineLorD just going to focus it down and manages to take it out. MarineLorD slowly getting back towards the base of Viper, and we can see the tempo swing back in the favor of Viper the closer we got to his base.
Exactly, Viper is able to reinforce his army much better now. Having to transition to farms already is not necessarily ideal, especially with the roost, because you have to make those hunting cabins, which are quite expensive. This is a massive window for MarineLorD. 67 kills to 40 deaths. Of course, he lost some very expensive knights as well, but ultimately that was a big win for him. And now that he's got the blacksmith, he also has the free attack upgrade on the French, which is immensely valuable for horsemen. It obviously helps for the knights, but it's even more valuable for the horsemen because their base attack is much smaller, so having that +1 extra attack just by building the blacksmith is insanely valuable. Looking at the resource banks of the players, Looks like we're going to have a very long Feudal Age here because neither of the players have the resources to go up just yet. And as you said, since MarineLorD used his scouts in that fight, he's no longer going to be ferrying in deer. There is still one patch of huntables here, unclaimed. This is something that Viper could still take for himself. The rest of them are mostly depleted, so only a couple of carcasses left on each.
Yeah, there's not really a lot out here, but obviously still got a couple more scouts. You can see one just there on the screen at the moment. Going to be ferrying in that deer, probably just to the mill right here. Rather than the TC, but nope, instead goes towards that town center, wants to keep it extra safe. But MarineLorD looking pretty good. Are we able to do a quick stock take, see where the villager count is at the moment for these players? So we got 54 versus 47. Viper, 7 villagers behind, and you can reasonably expect that. Obviously, he's playing up against the French. French are going to be training their villagers faster, so MarineLorD will always have that villager advantage. But now it looks like Viper, heading towards the berries, going to be able to find some villagers, not going to be able to get any solid connections here. Manages to repel the attack MarineLorD does, and Viper going to have to be walking away here. Keep in mind, he doesn't have access to chivalry like MarineLorD does on the French, so any damage he takes on these knights, it's going to be sticking around for a while. Viper continuing to fall back towards his base here, up towards the north. It looks like another counterattack going to be happening here. And we've got only a handful of spears, though. This is quite dangerous. Viper could get caught out of position here. MarineLorD does have quite a significant mass of cavalry. And has he got any nearby massive spears? I do see some units trickling over. It's only a handful. This is not good right now for Viper. This is a little bit of a throw, if I'm honest, because there's a lot of units out for MarineLorD, and these brand new horsemen are going to really demonstrate why they are so strong. We've got the +3 armor here as well. Only 6 attack for Viper's archers, which means that these guys are only doing 50% of the damage that they would be doing to an unarmored unit. So really, we're going to start to see some difficult positions for Viper to try and find himself getting his way out of. He is digging a hole right now, and those units continue heading up towards the north and looking to get Viper up in towards the corner. He's having a tough time here, Lidakor.
He is in a difficult position because those archers will get cleaned up, and then suddenly Viper's army is just going to disappear from the battlefield. Viper is trying to go for a couple of knights, but really those are not inflicting any damage on MarineLorD. And as you said, there is no way to heal back those early knights from the Rus, unlike the French knights over here. This is a cleanup up north, and if you look at the military numbers, Viper is sitting at 16, MarineLorD is at 36.
Oof.
Viper, on the other hand, banking up resources. He doesn't really have a ton of gold, but as I say that, those Golden Gate tickets.
Yeah, he didn't have a lot of gold until you said it, and then all of a sudden he had 1,000 gold just sitting there ready to go. That's the Golden Gate, baby, and it is incredibly powerful. Going up to 1,000 gold, going to be able to click up to the next age. So even though he's lost his entire army, he's just going to be able to click up to the next age, and he'll be thinking about potentially horse archers, men-at-arms. Which direction do you think he's going to look to go for?
Oh, there's a lot of foot archers from MarineLorD over here, so going for horse archers would be a little risky because foot archers are meant to counter them, and especially after they were weakened by the January patch, the horse archers would just struggle so badly against foot archers. So I think you probably have to go men-at-arms, but it's tricky because there's also a lot of knights here for MarineLorD. So maybe you could go for horse archers, but then you have to accompany them with men-at-arms. But first, you'll have to survive this counterattack because Viper's lack of army is going to show on the battlefield soon. It's almost a 3-to-1 ratio of armies right now, as MarineLorD swoops in for the kill on the right side.
Yeah, a little bit of a tough position right now for Viper, so deciding to put these farms out near the existing hunting cabin. So looking to save a bit of wood for the hunting cabin, but at the same time, it's going to cost him the lives of these villagers as well as these farms. So a bit of a tough spot for him now. Archer's going to continue picking off these villagers one by one. It looks like a raid going to be going down in his wood line as well. Manages to get cleaned up over to the left-hand side of your screen. Viper now reaching the castle age. It's going to take some time for him to actually get some units out, though. Having reached the castle age, I think the most important thing for him is probably going to be getting a mangonel out. That's going to help him a lot. So if he can get that single mangonel out, that'll really do quite well. And we do see the Siege Workshop going down for Viper. So probably going to be looking to get that mangonel out as quickly as possible. You can see the resources that he's banking up, or at least there we go. He's got the income per minute at the top. There we go. So, yeah, probably able to sell out some of his food and look to get that in through the Golden Gate. The Siege Workshop is up, so MarineLorD's going to know exactly what he's up to and wants to prevent any mangonels from coming out. So really going to force the issue now. But keep in mind, behind this, MarineLorD is also going up to the 3rd age. He knows that there is a nice little window here for him to come in and attack before these upgrades are through for the Viper, and it's going to mean that he's able to pick up these units while their stats are still low. He's got huge numbers here, and I'm really starting to wonder, how is Viper going to be able to hold this?
Indeed, that's a big question, because Viper is just now queuing up the Mangonel, but that Siege Workshop is so exposed that the Knights could kill that Mangonel instantly. Viper didn't lose a ton of villagers, but the idle time was quite considerable, and as you said, behind this one, MarineLorD is going up to Castle Age with the Guildhall, setting it on foot for the time being. But now both players are up in castles, so Viper wasn't really able to leverage that Castle Age advantage that he has had. And if you look at the army numbers, it is still 4 times the army for MarineLorD, plus an extra 17 villagers as well, because Viper did lose a couple of vills, and of course MarineLorD has the faster working French town center, and MarineLorD, he doesn't want to push Viper. He's realizing that, hey, why would I even push the Rus player here? It's just risky. I can just make a monastery and build on my already existing lead, start picking up relics, start securing sacred sites, and basically play the way that the Rus played before the patch, just have the relics and force the opponent to attack.
Yeah, it's a pretty smart move here from MarineLorD. I think he bit off just the right amount. You know, typically in situations like that, players can overextend. He came in, he took out a few units, forced a fair bit of idle time, and then that was it. He walked away. A very smart move. But now he's dropped down that monastery. He'll be looking to get out a monk. There it is in queue now. Picking up those relics, taking those sacred sites, as you mentioned, and denying those relics from Viper himself. So Viper has got the warrior monk out. We heard him pick up a relic a little bit earlier. Are we able to spot that one out? There we go. There's the warrior monk now. Does have 2 relics inside the Abbey of the Trinity at this stage. So the last 3 remaining relics are all close to MarineLorD's base. It's going to be difficult for him to be able to take those.
For MarineLorD, having 3 relics as opposed to a Rus player having 2 is still a decent accomplishment, because while the warrior monks are also slower carrying the relics backwards, they can still evade your army as they are going towards the relics. So unlike a standard monk that's generally very slow moving, the warrior monk still can get to relics really fast. So it's still a little difficult to deny relics from them, but obviously once they pick it up, the knights can kill them quite easily. Viper trying to run away with that, but he's gonna have to drop off that relic, otherwise he's going to lose that warrior monk. Tries the conversion, but that's a desperate effort. That should never work.
That is, that's really good to see. So that's the most recent change that's come to the Rus. Now, that wouldn't have happened in the patch before, but in this patch it has happened because the monks, or the warrior monks, have got that slower movement speed. So before today, this wouldn't have been the case. But yeah, now we actually see a bit of an advantage going over to the French in this situation. So the Rus unable to just sort of pick up that relic and run away from the knights that are guarding it. So that is a great change as well. Absolutely love it.
MarineLorD has been ferrying in here the whole time. That's just spectacular that he's still finding some carcasses to bring in, and he's going to yoink some from right next to Viper's base. Those are the last remaining carcasses on the map, but here's Viper to retaliate, and that wood line is dangerously exposed here for MarineLorD.
Yeah, going to be losing just about 5 villages that are here. But at the same time, we've got the Mangonels that are looking to defend. 4 Mangonels out for the Viper. This is a pretty decent number of Mangonels. Actually, when you start getting at these sorts of levels, that's when you start to be a threat to the cavalry that is out on the map as well. But speaking of cavalry, not able to take out that monk that was carrying in the relic, but managing to hit a few villages. They do manage to get inside the town center, we can see right now, but are being chased down, are being hacked away. Are we able to do a quick stock take and see what the villager count is for these players? So we've got 62 for the Viper, 72 for MarineLorD. About what you'd expect, a slight lead going over to the French player. Nothing too serious though.
Indeed, Viper was able to cut into that deficit because he was behind by like 17 before, so some value was there. But of course, MarineLorD is now on 2 town centers, Viper is staying on 1, and now Viper is in danger of losing a couple of villagers over here as the veteran spearmen close in. No archers on the battlefield right now for MarineLorD, he had them sent back all the way into his base. MarineLorD bringing in relic number 2 and relic number 3 will fall into his hands as well, so it's going to be 3 versus 2 when it comes to relic situation. And of course, MarineLorD is going to have 2 town centers as well. He's in a good position right now with the Guildhall set on gold and already having 500 inside as well.
Yeah, he's in a really good position. In fact, I think this is, at this point, you know, I often talk about that percentage chance to win. I think MarineLorD's percentage is quite high to win this game. Just simply, that second town center really adds into it. And MarineLorD, to be on the defensive right now, with seeing those Mangonels, what he really needs to do is just get a single Springald out. Just 1 or 2 Springalds is all he needs, and that's going to shut down any potential attack from Viper. And then by doing that, it's also going to mean that he's got the 2 town centers behind that, and subsequently his economy is going to overwhelm Viper's eventually. It is only a matter of time, so it's a really smart move. But my concern is that we are not seeing this Siege Workshop come up fast enough. He knew about these Mangonels minutes ago. He was well aware that there were mangonels out on the field 4 or 5 minutes ago, but we're only seeing a siege workshop getting made now. We're only seeing the very first Springald come out of the game, or come out, and he's got villagers that he's trying to pull forward onto this siege workshop. You watch when Viper starts paying attention, and yeah, now we're going to see those villagers start to lose their health very quickly. There's no way that this siege workshop is ever going to be bearing any fruit, as it does go down before the very first Springald gets out. Do we have any other siege workshop in the base of MarineLorD at the moment? Is that it? There is one. Okay. All right, this is good. This is good for MarineLorD. I think this is a pretty decent position. The fact that he had that second one back there, that is a good thing for him. So I think this is a very difficult spot. Viper had one window, and that was when his opponent had no Springalds. He's got the Springalds now. Now his window's closed.
Yeah, it is looking very grim right now for him. It's 68 army for MarineLorD. 60 for Viper, but most of those are Mangonels, and as you said, the Springalds will be able to take them down quite easily. There comes the first shot. One Mangonel already heavily damaged, although you gotta be careful against 5 Mangonels over here. The Springald gets taken down by the Springald of Viper that just came onto the battlefield.
Yeah, now the Mangonels are going to be able to have free reign over on the army of Viper. You can see the Spears trying to do their best to hold on over towards the north side of those Mangonels. They're managing to get shots off on the units that are close, but you can just see MarineLorD completely overwhelming Viper. Where did his army go? It almost looks like Viper's just deleted his army. There is absolutely no red units left on this field, bar a few Spears. The Mangonels are just trying to shoot. You can see them just rotating around in a circle, but MarineLorD having an absolutely massive lead, and that is the consequence of pushing out from your safety of your base. It just really leaves a lot of area for you to be flanked.
Exactly. MarineLorD had a ton of cavalry as well, and as you said, the Mangonels can do a lot when you have 5 of them out there, but in open field, when you miss your first volley, and if your opponent splits up their cavalry, and once they jump on your Mangonels, suddenly those are just going to die. And Viper's military population was mostly in Mangonels, so after those disappeared, he basically had no army. He had like 10, 15 spearmen protecting those, and that was it. Whereas for MarineLorD, he's got one gigantic army of archers and knights, and now he's ready to finish off this game at Viper's food line. Viper is at only 84 population as opposed to 154 from his opponent.
Yeah, serious difference between these two players at this point in time. I would have loved to have seen a few more spears coming out from Viper, but that is the consequence of being so far behind. In the early game, he did throw away quite a lot of his mass up towards the north of the map, and now we are seeing the consequences of that. Only a few spearmen remain in the base of Viper. He's trying to defend this woodline as best he can, as we see lancers now coming out, or rather knights coming out from Viper, but it's obviously going to be nowhere near enough. He's going to need a miracle at this point to be able to get himself back into this game.
A miracle like a good Mangonel shot could definitely help, but it feels next to impossible because now there's just no army on the battlefield, and MarineLorD is starting to just massacre all those villagers. Viper's population is collapsing, and MarineLorD is in a commanding position.
Yeah, I think this looks like good game, and Viper does tap out. Game 1 going over to MarineLorD, doing an incredible job there, MarineLorD was, and just played it very methodically. Very smart maneuvers from him. Great game decisions. The fact that he pulled back when he had a very clear lead and played it safely. Looked to get those upgrades, avoid fighting and overextending. Very well played, methodical play, and looking incredibly strong today.
Looking really strong indeed. The fact that he was able to secure all those hunts throughout the game definitely helped a lot because he could delay his farm transition. And of course, Rus without the deer being ferried in, they won't have a spectacular economy come mid-feudal age. So we can see that the villager graph is always in the favor of MarineLorD simply because he's got the French faster training villagers. And then the key fights, because there were some of them, especially if you remember the archers getting cleaned up all the way on the north. That was like a group of 25, 30 archers going down for Viper for minimal gain.
Yeah, it really was. And he pushed up towards that wood line. I think he was looking to distract MarineLorD away from his own base, but didn't really appreciate just how many cavalry units there were out for MarineLorD. And I think it became very evident when that fight began that Viper had definitely overcommitted way too much, because that army, that would have bought him quite a fair bit of a buffer while going to age 3. And then, as you can see from the subsequent military population, he never really got back into it.